Welcome to part 11 of my journey through the history of Doctor Who. In this part, I'm reviewing the 3-part serial Planet of Giants, an episode where the TARDIS malfunctions and shrinks its occupants to the size of insects. The episode begins with the TARDIS doors opening while it's materialising, and the Doctor is worried that something's gone wrong. The scanner explodes when Susan tries to turn it on, so they venture out. Outside, they find a giant worm, giant ants, and even a matchbox, and they realise that they are on Earth.
We have been reduced roughly to the size of an inch.
An inch?
You, me, all of us, and the ship.
Ian climbs into the matchbox, but it is picked up by a human. We're then introduced to our subplot about an industrialist, Forrester, who has led the invention of a new insecticide called DN6, which in this episode serves as a link to the very real DDT. A government scientist, Farrow, has told him that they can't approve the formula as it's too deadly to all life forms, and Forrester kills him. His assistant, Smithers, helps him get rid of the body, as he's committed too much of his life to inventing DN6. Meanwhile, after running away from a cat, Ian and Barbara climb into a suitcase, which is then picked up and taken to the lab where DN6 is being tested. The Doctor and Susan decide to climb into a drain pipe to rescue them. Barbara accidentally touches some wheat grains covered in the insecticide, and, in the most annoying trope in history, doesn't tell anyone. Eventually, Barbara and Ian find Susan and the Doctor before one of the silliest out-of-context cliffhangers in the show. They obviously all survive after the Doctor and Susan go into an overfill pipe, and then all meet up on the lab bench. Barbara keeps getting sick, and only when she collapses does she finally tell them what happened. After discovering what DN6 does, they decide they need to stop it. They try to call the police, despite knowing they can't talk to humans at their size, then set off a makeshift bomb using a gas pipe and a can of DN6. In the ordinary-sized world, Smithers has realised the killing potential of DN6, and is starting to regret helping to cover up Farrow's death. Forrester attempts to kill him, but is blinded by the explosion and then arrested by police who went there after the telephone operator got suspicious. The TARDIS team return to the ship, and growing back to normal size fixes Barbara's condition. This is a bit of a weird episode, to be honest. It's not at all like any other episodes of Doctor Who, apart from the interesting parallel to Flatline, where the TARDIS shrinks but the occupants remain the same size. The secondary plot is very tangentially related to the Doctor and Companion's adventure, and honestly, I think this episode would have worked better if we never saw the large humans or heard them talk. For some reason, the showrunners at the time were insistent that this episode take place, having the script change hands a number of times. And at one point, this was considered to be the story directly after An Unearthly Child, but was decided against as it didn't do enough to introduce the characters. The episode was also written and filmed as 4 parts, but was condensed to get to the Dalek episode quicker. This was a great decision, and I think this episode would have been much slower and worse with another episode filling out time. The set design is amazing, and some of the effects used are incredibly creative for the time. Our core actors also shine again, especially Barbara. Possibly my biggest gripe with the episode is that the conclusion is incredibly contrived. The TARDIS team, having already discussed their inability to communicate with normal-sized people, try to call the police, and then for some reason, the phone being left off the hook makes the operator suspicious enough to send a policeman just in time to arrest Forrester when the bomb goes off. Overall, I'm giving Planet of Giants a 6 out of 10. It's got some very fun ideas and a good concept. I just wish they'd stuck to the TARDIS team's story. They even managed to find out it's a deadly insecticide anyway by deciphering a giant notebook, so the B-plot isn't even necessary for that to be discovered. I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a comment down below if you have any other thoughts on the episode, and I'll see you next time for our first companion departure in The Dalek Invasion of Earth.